Hey guys, welcome back to WebMD&DM, where I talk about the tall tales that happened in both of my games, the Dungeons and the Dragons. Before we get into the meat of this video, I just wanted to put out a real quick announcement. I had been invited to attend a local high school who were doing a comic book day event, and I was invited to be a DM for a bunch of high schoolers. It ended up being about 4 sessions long, each of them about 1 hour, and the tables were upwards of around 10 kids per table. So as you can imagine, I was way out of my depth. Those kids were going all over the place. One kid ended up murdering a merchant to steal his gold. The final session, a bar brawl broke out, and half the party ended up getting knocked out by the local guards, and the other half were trying to stop the fighting and kept everybody alive. So yeah, just wanted to kind of mention that was something really cool that was happening. Part of the reason why I wasn't able to put out a video as often. But anyways, this is the 6th Eastern Evils campaign diary. When last we left our heroes, the party, having arrived in the village of Orlane looking for a man known as Duvan's stall, have found themselves swept up in something that's a little bit more world-threatening than they had originally believed. Having rescued Duvan from the bandits, who had disappeared into the forest afterwards, as well as a kobold tribe that had been harrying travelers along the main road, the party had then returned to town, hoping to get some rest and recover, and then learn exactly what Duvan had discovered. Duvan had seemed to come into possession of something inside of a small wooden box, which he had not yet revealed to the party, and the party had not stuck around long enough to find out what was inside of it. The party, having returned to town after these adventures, had been invited to dine with Valthrun the Prescient, a local mage, as well as Duvan Stall, to discuss the recent events that had been cropping up in the region. The party had also come into contact with a local huntress by the name of Ninarin, who they believe was involved somehow in the troubles that had been plaguing the region. And that's where we pick up today's session. The party awakens full of vim and vigor from their rest, open up the windows, and are suddenly assaulted by this cavalcade of noise and smells that overpower all except Hoss. Hoss being a walking robot. The party can smell these roasted meats being cooked, as well as these candied nuts like peanuts and almonds being hawked about, and they can hear these crowds milling about, as well as a bunch of vendors just shouting out their wares. So there's obviously some sort of joyous event happening outside, and the party have really no idea what's going on. So they head out of their room and down into the common room of the tavern to try and investigate. Ask the bartender, ask some of the locals, and figure out what's going on. Heading down the stairs into the common room, they can see that it is more crowded than they would have expected, as a group of travelers have now arrived in the village and are looking for lodging. However, it doesn't take too long for them to be able to get the bartender's attention and ask her some questions about what's happening. The bartender, Sylvana Rafton, explains that today is a market day. Basically, the point of the market day is that Orlane is a very small village. The odds of you finding anything that you're looking for are about 50% whether or not they're going to have it. As my father would call it, it's a one-word town. Anything with more than 2 words in the title, you're not going to find it. But merchants and vendors will still make their way from the nearby town of Voxley Allen to sell their wares to these people who are most in need of it. Fresh tools, clothing, all those sort of produced goods that they don't have any of the craftsmen they would need to make it themselves. The villages of Orlane, in turn, will gather their crops, whatever they've hunted or gathered from the surrounding region, and sell them back to the merchants. So it's an exchange of produced goods with farmable goods, very similar to what happened in America and Britain back before the Revolutionary War. Because it takes them so long to get back down to the town, they spend time there gathering their supplies, hanging with their family, and then so long to get back up there, it happens around once a week, and is usually just kind of reserved as a festival day. Everyone kind of takes the day off of work, they have food, they have drink, they hang out, they play games, and there's also business transactions going on. Not just merchant and farmer, but also the exchange of information. People will come to the town on the caravans to start doing what they want to do in the town. Oh wait, do you mean that it's... That's right, it's a shopping episode. The party disperses throughout the town. Lysander heads back up to his room to take care of some business before he heads into the market day. Hoss decides he's going to take some of the party treasury and go and buy some healing potions for everybody to use. And Joff and Bruce decide to go do some shopping of their own. First, Hoss. He finds his way to the local apothecary type person, It's an elf with silver eyes, rather youngish looking, though she is an elf. And he pulls out some of the treasures that he acquired from the kobold lair, a couple of large moon gems. He offers them in trade for a pair of healing potions. Delphina the elf, after getting the gems appraised to make sure they are valuable enough, accepts the trade, and Hoss walks away with 2 healing potions. He then heads over to the local smithy, named the Crate and Barrel, run by a dwarf named Thayer Coalstriker. Conversing with Thayer, Hoss begins laying the groundwork for creating something that his character will find quite useful at later levels, because Hoss is not just a warforge. He then concludes his business with the blacksmith by asking if he can remaster this shoddy short sword that he took off of a kobold body during one of the raids. The blacksmith takes his best guess at how he could possibly do that and says sure, he'll deliver it to him this evening. Next up, Joff and Bruce. They head to the general store to sell some knickknacks and paddywhacks to get some coin together. Once Joff has the coin, he then decides he wants to buy a shield. So he and Bruce decide to head over to the blacksmith and ask if he could make him a shield. On the way there, they actually pass Hoss leaving the blacksmith. Joff asks the blacksmith if he can make him a shield, and the blacksmith points out that blacksmiths don't make shields. However, if he is interested in obtaining a shield, he could ask one of the many vendors who have arrived for market day if any of them are selling a shield. So Joff and Bruce begin walking around the market. Joff comes across a dwarf, a rather stocky-looking individual with a gray-black beard, who is in fact selling shields. Joff buys the shield off of the dwarf. They also come across Delphina Moongem, the apothecary from Hoss's adventure, and Bruce buys a healing potion for himself personally with his coin. Having concluded their business, the two of them also head back to the tavern. And finally, Lysander. Lysander the Warlock is not just a warlock. He spent his time conning people into paying him money, and in fact has 4 very common schemes that he uses. He decides, seeing as there's a bunch of strangers in the village now, he has the perfect opportunity to set up one of his cons and try and get some coin out of it. So, having put the finishing touches on his disguise, he heads down out of the tavern into the courtyard where he finds a small little out-of-the-way alley, pushes a couple of barrels together, climbs on top, and starts announcing himself as Castle, one of the paladins of Castle and Castle, Paladins at Law. I'll put another picture up here so you can get a closer look at his little business card. Lysander's character Noah is a proficient graphics designer and video editor, so he was able to throw together these cards as a prop for his character, which I thought was really cool. Lysander is able to con a few slightly disreputable people out of a handful of silver each, and gathers it up together as his current haul. However, that is when things start to go against Lysander. A pair of the town regulars, not familiar with Lysander, approach him and ask him what he's doing and what his business is. Lysander declares that he is a paladin. He is here to help people with their criminal disputes. The guards point out that they have no record of a Castle and Castle Paladins at Law setting up in this courtyard. Lysander's response? Well, you see, the thing about that is, that's right, Lysander books it. His first thought is, well, maybe I can outrun them. I'll just go. However, he is a warlock, which means they don't have very good physical abilities, and these are trained guardsmen, which means that they have pretty good physical abilities. They are able to keep pace with him rather quickly. As the guards are closing in, Lysander has a different idea. Is there some way I can use acrobatics to escape these guys? Well, sure, yeah, you could use acrobatics to jump up on the roof, or your nimbly dodge around objects or something like that. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. And you have to know what he rolled in that moment. So, Lysander decides to try and jump up onto the roof. However, as he does so, the roof gives out underneath him and he falls flat on his back. The guards immediately capture and detain him and drag him up to speak with the Lord for impersonation of a vendor during market day, disturbing the peace, as well as attempted evasion of the town regulars. So, I think that's where we're going to end this session. Next session, Lysander's negotiations with Lord Sean Pedre as well as Captain Ron Kelpham for his release, as well as a meeting with Valthrun the Prescient to determine exactly what is going on in this region. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. We didn't quite get to the point I was expecting us to get to, but this seems like a pretty good stopping point. I don't want these videos to be too long, otherwise people usually will start to tune out. So, stay tuned for more upcoming campaign diaries. Feel free to leave comment in the blah blah down below. I'm curious, what do you guys think is Lysander's story going to be when he talks with the Lord? What do you think he's going to say? How do you think the Lords are going to react? Do you think they're going to throw him in the stocks? As always, thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to roll your charisma saving throw against the subscribe button. I can't wait to see you all in the next video. I hope you all have a lovely day, and until I see you again, take care.